This computer. Okay. So hello, everyone. This is Cantor Gaston Bogomolny, and we are broadcasting here from T.A.L Community Mental Health Center. T.A.L, just as a reminder for everyone, stands for Transformation, Affection, and Love. And as you know already, because you have heard, me and my wife, my co-owner, Marcela, my partner, Marcela Gomez Bogomolny, we are very strong into support groups. We call it empowering life groups. Why do we do this? Because I know a lot of people are very familiar with the AA, with all alcoholics and anonymous, but there are a lot of support groups that can be done. And there's a lot of different groups around in different fields and different areas and around the world that need a lot of support. When we support each other, when we join a group, it's kind of in a way something that helps us to hear that someone else is going through the same thing I'm going through, and I'm not alone. So that's also very, very important. One of the support groups that we are very invested, and me, myself, as a cantor and rabbinical student, as a member of the clergy, I'm very, very invested, is in a support groups for my colleagues. Now, today, we are offering specifically for Jewish clergy, for rabbis, and for cantors. But in the future, we are also going to be offering support groups, empowering life groups for clergy, members of the clergy from different religions. And in order to do that, and today what we have is our guest, who is going to be also the facilitator of this course, of this support group. And I say course support group because then we're going to talk about, he uses different techniques. And I'm talking about Rabbi Shlomo Tucker, a spiritual mentor, an NLP consultant. And hello, Rabbi Tucker.
Hello, hello. Delighted to be here and to be part of the project.
We are delighted to have you. And I see here, Rabbi, it says you're a spiritual mentor. I mean, you are a rabbi. You are the former dean of the Schechter Rabbinical Seminary, and you are also an NLP consultant. NLP stands for
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
You want me to say a bit about it?
Absolutely, because I don't know if everyone really knows about it. I mean, it sounds very cool to say NLP, but what it really means and what it really helps us with.
Well, okay, so I get very excited when you give me an opportunity to tell about NLP, because it just fills me with energy. NLP is a technique, a way of thinking, an expression of curiosity that enables a person to fulfill his or her potential and goals. It is a way of really saying, here is what I want to do. Here is how I would like to progress. These are the things that I want to do. And somehow, for some reason or reasons, I haven't been able to do all that I want. And so NLP is a collection of tools, ways of thinking, guided imagery. It incorporates a great deal that enable a person to say, here's what I want to do, and to map out a way of going about making those behavioral changes so that I can achieve that which I have dreamt about for so long.
Wow. And Rabbi, I mean, let's get to talk a little about you. I mean, how you were born in the United States, you grew up in the United States, you studied in the United States, you did your rabbinical school here?
Yes, I was born in Brooklyn, and my family moved out to Long Island when I was just 5 years old. And that's where most of my childhood was, and my teenage years. And very early on, I knew that I wanted to be a rabbi. In fact, the story, which I only a little bit remember, that my parents of blessed memory have told me, is that they learned about my interest to be a rabbi from my public school teacher at a parents' evening. That they came forward to together with me at this session that the teacher was holding, and he called up each parent with their son or daughter, and the teacher, I remember him very well, said, "It's so nice to hear that Sanford has found his calling and wants to be a rabbi." My parents looked at each other and kind of in Yiddish said, "What is he talking about?" So it was at the rather young or ripe old age of 12 that I knew that I was going to be a rabbi.
And you became a rabbi. So you studied in New York in a JTA, the Jewish Theological Seminary?
Yes. It was. I went first to the joint program between the JTS undergraduate school and Columbia University undergraduate school, and finished those 2 degrees. And then it was a natural continuation. I knew I was just going straight on to rabbinical school, which is what I did.
Wow. And then after that, you served some congregations as a pulpit rabbi?
I served pulpits, but very early on, I knew that I wanted to come to Israel, because I had, in my junior year of university, I come from my junior year, I met the woman who turned out to be my wife, an American from Philadelphia, and we had just a wonderful, wonderful experience. I'm fond of saying that it was that eternal triangle of boy, girl, state of Israel. And we just traveled everywhere, and it was an extraordinary experience. So that when we came back to the United States and I went into rabbinical school, we knew that that's where we were headed.
And then you had a very busy life there, in Israel. But I just want to get to the point, Rabbi. I mean, how do you get to NLP? I mean, not everyone gets to NLP, and why you got interested and how you got to learn from in Israel, because I don't know if NLP is big in Israel.
Yeah, that's a great question, Cantor. In my particular case, it was like this, that I have worked for many, many years with a woman that I call my life coach. She has been tremendously helpful to me in many areas in terms of my personal growth and progress. And at one point, she said to me, there is something that you might want to check out. It's called NLP. And I looked at her, as many people look at me now when I say NLP, and I asked her to explain it. She explained what it was. She said, they have an evening in which you can go with no obligation, try it out, see what it's like. And I fell in love with it. From that moment, I did a first degree program there, and then a second one, and then ultimately accomplished the highest level that is offered in Israel of becoming a trainer. And it is a tool about which I have written, actually, and actually built a course that combines Jewish text and principles of NLP, because they really, really correspond with each other beautifully. They're both life affirming. And so I found myself incorporating NLP principles in the pastoral work that I do and in the mentoring work that I have done. And all that took place while I was in an academic career. As you mentioned, I was for many years on the faculty, on the staff of the Shechter Rabbinical Seminary, where I concluded as the dean of the rabbinical school. And I actually offered training for some of the students there. I mentored students there using the principles of NLP and what we call guided imagery. And if you want me to unpack that word,
we will unpack that word, Rabbi. And just give me 1 second, because I think it's fascinating. First, I want to tell the audience that Marcela and I, back in 2017, we had the opportunity to study with you. I mean, we met differently, you know, not in Israel, because your parents were members of the synagogue that I served for 7 years, Bethora Beni Rock campus here, and or was Bethora Das Yeshurun, you know, in the time here in
Yes.
North Miami Beach. And so in your visits, you know, to your mom, Pearl Tucker, bless his memory, you know, which we adored, you know, we got to get to know each other. And then through that relationship that we started to build up, you know, Marcela and I had the opportunity to, and I would say Marcela is Marcela Gomez Bogomolny. Again, this is T.A.L Community Mental Health Center. We are located in North Miami Beach. It is a new healing and mental health center that combines and integrates both the conventional traditional therapy with clinicians, as well as also holistic and also alternative approaches. And with that also, we are offering empowering life groups. If you want to find out more information, you can come to and go to our website, which is T.A.L cmhc.org, and you can probably see it written in the body of this this interview conversation with Rabbi Shlomo Tucker. We are conversing, we are having a conversation, a dialogue with Rabbi Shlomo Tucker, who is going to be given one of the empowering, delivering, and giving the opportunity to one of the empowering life groups, one of the support groups specifically for clergy, which is called Jewish Clergy and the Challenges of Community Spiritual Service. I want to know a little more about this group and why you came up with this. Again, I mean, you are a clergy, you know, man, I'm a member of the clergy as well. I know the challenges. I know that many times, like other fields, like therapists, you know, and psychologists, that we absorb a lot, we serve a lot, and then we don't have anyone to talk to, and we end up, you know, with a lot of stress. I learned once in 2011, Rabbi, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I learned from a person, from an academic, a PhD in specifically in this area, talking about clergy. He did the whole thesis on the work of clergy, where he mentioned that the clergy work, I mean, people, members of the clergy or the clergy field, is the third it's the third of all of the fields that exist out there that has more that is more stressful, and at the same time also that comes into suicidal thoughts and even to committing suicide. And I don't want to put it so there as a warning thing, but it was warning to me when I learned that from him in his investigation, his research, that is a very difficult field and a very difficult situation, or even a career or profession or vocation, you know, to really be on.
Yeah. Cantor, I would like to very much agree with that, and to highlight what I think is one of the major differences between professions such as serving as a psychologist and being a rabbi, because the rabbinate really is built for people who want to build personal, I would even say intimate connection with congregants, meaning that they are hopeful that there will be a degree of sharing, a degree of openness. And it is not a profession only, it's a calling. It has a spiritual side to it that I think is quite special. And that is also one of the areas that frequently in conversations with rabbis, colleagues, cantors as well, Jewish educators as well, I understand that there are many occasions in which the gravity, the powerfulness of their desire to help people who are often in difficult situations can bring about a real weakening of their spirituality, and put a strain on them on the emotional level. And so they need strengthening of their base of faith, as well as their confidence in themselves, as well as knowing the limitations of how they can be helpful to congregants and when they need to refer congregants to professionals in the field of psychology, for example. But there are many things that the rabbi can do, that the cantor can do in pastoral counseling, in being available, but it takes a toll. It absolutely can be exhausting. It can be almost withering. And so establishing personal boundaries that my core is protected, as well as boundaries for my family, are crucial. The rabbinical life, the cantorial life, very often means that the phone rings at the most difficult and challenging moments, and you have to be there. You have to be ready. You have to be available. Finding the strengths to do that is one of the issues that will be addressed.
It seems that I mean, it seems no, I know by by firsthand. You know, I've been
Exactly.
for 31 years, you know, in the world of, you know, of Cantrell, and I serve different congregations in different parts of the world, and different ages. You know, I became a Cantrell when I was very young and my teenage years. So as I grew up and then I had family, I totally agree with you with, you know, with everything that you just mentioned. So tell me, and tell actually a clergy, because mostly, you know, this is good common information and general information for the audience out there, but this course specifically is to support members of the clergy, for Jewish clergy specifically. So tell that rabbi or that cantor who might be hearing or listening to us right now, because sometimes I talk to some colleagues and I told them about my idea when we developed, you know, the idea of T.A.L and developing also the idea that again, as I said before, I'm very invested because it was my own life also trying to find support groups when I needed it and I didn't find it. And I want to serve, you know, my colleagues, you know, in this way. That's why we're doing it. And but many times, you know, the clergy, members of the clergy, you know, we feel that we are superheroes, right? And then we get some we get a lot of our egos inflated, also thinking that we are not vulnerable, you know, that we can do everything, and it's not true. I mean, we break up, and sometimes when we don't really, when we are not honest to our own selves, we are really damaging relationships that are also, like you say, family or with our parents or with our kids. So we are vulnerable, we all humans. And yes, it's a call, and yes, it's also a profession, and yes, I think that from probably the time that you became a rabbi to the time that we live today, I think it has been more demanding every time as congregations, you know, grow differently, also especially in America. But I want to mention something, Rabbi, that this support group is not just for people who live in America. The truth is that you're in Israel. This is going to be offered online in Zoom. So anyone who speaks English and understands English and can communicate, you know, can connect from any part of the world. So any rabbi, any cantor who live around the world can really participate of this group. Tell this rabbi or this cantor what he or she is going to encounter, so they don't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to be sharing, and then people will know that I have weaknesses. And I don't know if I want my colleagues to know about this, you know, it feels so weird. You know, they see me always like this and all the time. I don't, all the time they will see actually I have faults. And
Yes, there is a real balance to be struck between bringing myself, including my emotional state, my psychological state, so that I can be real, and protecting myself, my inner core, as I called it before. And we will seek to find the level of personal expression that is right for each person. That is a degree to which Susan or Shimon wants to bring herself or himself and real issues that she or he may have, and the need that each of us has to be protective of ourselves. We're going to deal with tools that enable me as a clergy, as a member of the clergy, whether it be as a cantor or a rabbi, to be able to use when, or even to prevent some stress in my life, that will enable me to establish healthy boundaries, to really feel that I can say, this is not the best moment for me to handle this matter. I prefer that we deal with it tomorrow morning instead of now at 10 o'clock at night, unless it's an absolute emergency. We will bring forward tools at each of the sessions. We'll have 4 sessions. Each one will highlight a different tool. Some of the tools are what we call reframing. Other tools are the ability to zoom in and zoom out, not in the sense of the Zoom that Cantor, you and I are using right now, but to see that sometimes I'm experiencing something that is part of something much bigger. And sometimes when I experience something as enormous, it's really reducible to something that I can handle much more easily. We will be exposed to tools such as transference of learning. For example, if I know how to establish a boundary in one part of my life, but I'm having difficulty in a different part of my life, how to take that strength and use it in a transference for a different part of my life. There are a great number of tools that we'll begin to talk about. We're talking about only 4 meetings. If there would be an interest in something beyond that, we can certainly think about a second level. But this first set will be of 4 sessions. And so we will deal with topics that appear in classic Jewish texts, short texts, so that the participants in this course will come away with a feeling, wow, I have this text in my pocket that highlights the way in which Rabbi Akiva dealt with turmoil. And I can recall that text when I sense turmoil in my life. So we'll have text, we'll have a tool, and we'll have topics. So TTT is how I'm seeing it in a triangular format. And responding a little deeper to what you asked before, participants do not have to bring themselves if they don't want to. They can listen and take in, or they can share to the extent that they want. It will be built in a way that is accommodating for different levels and desires of sharing. I hope that responds a bit to what you're asking, Cantor.
Yes, a lot, and I think, and thank you for highlighting, what things that are going to be covered, and highlighting also that this is going to be hopefully level 1, and hopefully will be level 2 and 3, and beyond. Now, you were talking about, because I'm always very curious, and people says like, hey, NLP and guided imagery, and you wanted to unpack a little bit about the guided imagery. I think that the best way to do sometimes guided imagery, is really demonstrating it. So you can talk a little about it. And if you want to do some guided imagery, for everyone who might be listening and watching today, it's up to you. You'll tell me if that works or not.
Well, usually guided imageries take more than the couple of minutes that we might have available right now. But if you want, I can. But I'll describe what it is, and then you tell me what our time frame is. We know that learning, especially when one a person wants to make a change in their pattern of behavior, because that's one of the key areas we're talking about. If until now, very often when somebody has given me criticism, I get annoyed and lash out very quickly without even thinking about it. Just snap my fingers and wow, I'm out there with a coarse comment back to that person, and I want to change that. Well, that is a process of change that has to do with cognition as well as the subconscious. Guided imagery is a methodology that I have learned and I have certificates in that enables a person to respond to metaphors, to pictures, to colors, to music, because that is the language of the subconscious. And when I can harness the subconscious together with the cognition, when I can put those two together, the possibilities for my making lasting change and development in the direction that I want and achieving my goals, those chances go way, way up, because all of a sudden I have engaged the subconscious, my emotion, my inner dialogue, as well as my ability to analyze. That is a winning combination. When you put all of that together, it gives me an enormous potential for making the changes and achieving what I want to.
So it seems that in a way you, and I understand, and this is research proved, right? Evidence proved, evidence-based, that we almost function 85% with our subconscious, right? Mm-hmm. if not more. And like you're saying, we react to things without even knowing why. Mm-hmm. But if you don't access consciously to the subconscious in order to really try to see and to find out where that button, is touching us in our subconscious, in any part of our lives or any episode in our lives, then we'll be probably always reacting the same way. Right. Is that something you're saying, like consciously trying to change the subconscious, so in order to reprogram the software a little bit?
Absolutely. That's part of what the NLP stands for, right? The neurological, referring to all of the ways in which we take in information. The processing is what we do with all that information, because one of the extraordinary learnings of NLP is that we are capable of giving an unlimited number of interpretations to any event. Now that's quite an extraordinary comment. But you know that it's true. A person, God forbid, who goes through a horrible, horrible experience, picture the Holocaust. There are those who have come out with their faith only strengthened. And there are those who have experienced the Holocaust and have come out of that with devastation, with an emotional self that has been impaired terribly. Now, ultimately, that has to do with the interpretation that we give on the conscious and the subconscious level. And we are indeed capable of making changes in that interpretation. I'm very fond of telling the following story. A man who wanted to go to a family reunion, several hours drive away from, let's say, from Florida, but he wanted to drive. He did not want to go by plane. And so he did not own a car. He rented a car. He had to get into downtown Miami to pick up the car. And along the way, there was terrible traffic. And he began to be very irritated. And finally, he got there and was told, oh, your car will not be ready for another couple of hours. He said, but I have to be 6 hours away from here by car. He says, nothing we can do. you're going to be late. And he got more and more upset. And finally, he got the car. He was already hours late. He got on the road and they were building on the road. It was just a disaster. And he looked at his watch 100 times, 105 times. And he realized that he had missed the entire family event. Finally, he got to the site and he was furious and he was frustrated and he was depressed. And he got in, opened the door. Everybody had left already. And a 7-year-old relative said, "Uncle Fred, what are you so upset about?" And he told him. And the young child said, "Yeah, well, that's true, but you're here now. Why don't you enjoy being here?" And all of a sudden, all of that frustration and anger and all of that, just like air going out of a balloon. And he was able to give a new interpretation to what was happening for him and to enjoy, because he was there. So giving a new interpretation, a new twist, is something that is an incredibly powerful tool that each of us can use.
Yeah, thank you for that story, and it reminded me so much about what they teach in Kabbalah. What it says with that sphere, that is hidden, which is the one called Da'at, which really many times, and in Hasidut and Kabbalah, they refer as perception. That everything is about perception, and like you say, giving a new interpretation and perception, to the same story, to the same situation.
Exactly.
Now, Rabbi, I want to get into one point, because I remember talking to colleagues, and I remember one colleague specifically, and that was, he had an episode in his life that he almost, he fell into the swimming pool when he was little, and he almost, he almost sank, into the, and he was rescued and everything was fine, but it was a traumatic event in his life. Interestingly enough, we were talking, and he and I, he discovered that every time that they were planning events in the synagogue around water, or things that had to do with swimming pools or water, and he got petrified, and he rejected every single idea. And he was the rabbi, he was the leader of the, and he never told anyone, what happened, but he immediately, it seems like he's subconscious, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it was always, defending the idea that now I'm rejecting, that idea that nothing has to do with water. And, he never really told anyone the story. What I'm trying to get here, Rabbi, is that we all carry, a huge baggage, right? And a luggage of probably traumatic events in our life. Sometimes we remember what they were or what they are. Sometimes we don't even remember. It might have happened when we were 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. It might be even something that happened at school with a friend. Maybe we were bullied, whatever it is. But all that, it seems that we project, as we grow, not only with our families, but also in the congregation, and not only in the events that we might, present and deliver and try to plan. But it seems also that, to give another example, there was another rabbi, a friend of mine, who was very traumatic by his father's passing. And he had a very hard time, really pastorally deliver a good message and a good pastoral work to his congregants, because he didn't, or she didn't herself or himself, past the death of his own or her own parents. So is there anything that and we don't realize this, right? And but we bring our baggage into our congregations. That means actually we can be affecting so much negatively also to things, to the health life of our congregation. Is that something that you will be helping us, or that the course and the support group will help with?
That's a rather profound question, Cantor, and I'd like to answer it as follows. I am not a psychologist or a therapist in North America. NLP tools have, according to my work, as I have experienced in the many, many hundreds of people that I have worked with, have the ability to help people to deal with very deep issues such as the ones that you are talking about. Also, there are times in which an NLP practitioner realizes that a person needs the help of a therapist, a psychotherapist, or a psychologist, and makes a referral, makes that comment. So these tools that I'm talking about have been useful for people in the areas you're talking about, with phobias, with interpersonal relations. NLP primarily focuses about behavioral change. And behavioral change, miraculously, I would have to say, it turns out is very often possible without years of therapy. It is possible for a person to actually make a behavioral change about the way that they are interacting with their spouse, or how they are behaving at work. Now, a psychologist, a psychotherapist might say, well, the roots are in your childhood. Well, the fact is that in many situations, it is possible to help somebody make those changes and get a degree of real change and relief without years of therapy. It depends on the particular situation, but I do want to lay out the possibility that behavioral change is possible for many people within a short amount of time in a therapeutic setting. That's this course of 4 sessions is not a therapeutic session. It's not. As I said to you, I am not a therapist in North America, but it does provide the beginning of tools that people can take with them and use to make actual changes in their behavior, their emotions, their thought process, and to feel better.
Beautiful. Thank you for that answer. And I think with that answer, we're going to probably say goodbye to you and goodbye to everyone. But we are very excited about this course. If you want to have more information, please come to our website, visit our website, TALCMHC.org, TAL Community Mental Health Center.org. You can send us an email to info@talcmhc.org, or also you can call us to 786-648-3588, 786-648-3588. We are here because we want to help you. If you are a member of the clergy, of the Jewish clergy and the Jewish communities, whether you are retired, whether you are in a congregation, whether you're a rabbinical student or cantorial student who is going to embark into this new life, this is a course and a support group for you. It's a very, very important that we invest in our own selves, because we serve so much. Probably we spend most of our lives and most of our day serving others, but we need to really, and we deserve to serve our own selves as well. So this is the course that is going to be, again, for Jewish clergy, called Jewish Clergy and the Challenges of Community Spiritual Service. And as the rabbi described, it's a practical, interactive, and tool-providing course designed for rabbis and cantors. What is going to be included, just in case you just jumped into the conversation right now: study of classic texts from the Jewish tradition, practice NLP, neuro-language programming tools for engagement.
Neuro-linguistic.
Sorry, neuro-linguistic, no language. Thank you for the correction, Rabbi. Neuro-linguistic programming tools for engaging professionals and personal challenges, practice guided imagery that Rabbi talked about. If you want just rewind a little bit of the video, you'll hear a little bit about what guided imagery is, interactive classes with an opportunity also for sharing and discussion, sharing with other clergy and learning from them, opportunity to meet clergy with different backgrounds and professional expertise. And as the Talmud said, we learn from each other, we learn from everyone. So this is a great opportunity. We are delightful and we are blessed and honored to have Rabbi Shlomo Tucker, who is going to be delivering and facilitating this group. So more information, just go to our website and fill out the form, register. There's a maximum capacity of 15 participants. If for any reason there's a lot of interest, Rabbi will also open a second alternative day during the week to have a second group as well. Rabbi, thank you so much for everything you do and for being yourself and for your providing and collaborating, also partnering, the partnership also with T.A.L, with T.A.L Community Mental Health Center. T.A.L, aside from those who are Jewish, of course, it means do, D-E-W, but also means transformation, affection, and love. We are the new healing center and mental health center on the block, North Miami Beach. And in case you need, aside from this group, yes, we do offer individual, group, couple, family therapy, also EAP if your employer, sent you to do some individual therapy. But the cool thing and the innovation from us is that we both integrate and combine what the Rabbi just said. You will be hearing from NLP, which is an alternative type of a way of changing behavior in a way that the Rabbi was explaining. At the same time, you might be doing your individual therapy, but you might take also, 2 sessions with the Rabbi doing NLP, or with an energy, or healing through music, or healing through the arts, everything that we offer. Just go to our website. You're going to get all this information that you don't need to be stuck just in one place. We can do the clinical and also the alternative. There are methodologies and techniques that are very, very evidence-based and proved. It's just sometimes, we just need to try them on, and it can save you a lot of money, and it can save you a lot of time from a long therapy that doesn't need to be if you can change certain things with different techniques as well. Rabbi, thank you so much. Any last word you want to say?
That it is an honor and a privilege, Cantor, to be part of the T.A.L team. And I'm really hyped and excited, and looking forward to meeting colleagues and really working with them. It's been my great pleasure and my choice in life to be in the helping profession. And so when somebody is given a new tool and is able to resolve an issue in their lives, it fills me with great joy.
Wonderful. Have a wonderful week, Rabbi, and thank you so much for being our guest today. Okay, so this course, just in case, it starts on January 10th and we'll go for 4 sessions. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.